What is up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Dense Pixels podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brad, joined by my co-host, Micah.
Hey.
So we find ourselves in a unique position here on this episode of Dense Pixels because I'd have to wager that we might be the only video game podcast in the entire world who has no members currently on the show right now that are playing Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And yet, we are going to still talk about Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom because I am finding a lot of enjoyment in Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which I think, and I don't have the statistics in front of me to prove it, but I think it might be the most memeable game of all time.
Yeah, the everyone is talking about this.
Yes.
And I'm very proud of myself for not falling in with the crowd.
I'm proud of you too, for the record.
Because any other time I would just be like, I know I'm not going to play this game, but I'm going to buy it anyway.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that this time.
Yeah.
So I'm getting better.
I gotta tell you, so it's funny because watching these clips has both been massively enjoyable, seeing all the creative things that people are doing inside of this apparent physics sandbox that Nintendo has created and framed it as a video game. And yet still reinforcing the decision even more, for me personally, not to want to play this game, especially right this second, because I'm not that creative in games. Like, I'm very objective driven in games, and I don't know that I would necessarily stop and fuck around with all of the different tools that this game seems to provide. And I certainly wouldn't be building like an orbital laser that can shred and light bosses on fire that I've seen somebody literally made an orbital laser and somehow that works and can just like rain down pain on bosses. And I certainly wouldn't be designing like literal tanks that you're going to siege Bokoblin encampments with to get them out of tower area. I wouldn't be crucifying Koroks. We're putting them on over a Spitfire, which you depraved motherfuckers out there are all doing. I think my favorite one besides the orbital laser, I saw someone literally build like a Trojan horse and hid Link inside of it and like slung it down the hill. And broke it into an encampment. That's pretty hilarious.
Good. I am like you. As much as I love like open world games, like I like to like mess around, but I am not creative enough to come up with, just wild stuff, right? Like the last time I actually gave it a really like the real college try was with Little Big Planet. And that felt like work.
Yeah. I mean, I think Zelda presents itself to you more naturally than like Little Big Planet does.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. And it's funny because like, so this game, we're in the afterglow of this highly anticipated game. And normally like people be ducking and dodging for like spoilers and stuff like that, but the story of this game seems to, but much like in Breath of the Wild, seems to be the furthest thing from what people are actually caring about right now. I think people are just having way too much fun just dicking around in the world to really focus in on beating the game. I know Brendan in the group rolled credits already, and I'm sure a lot of folks have, but I don't know, like I just feel like people are just like having fun playing with this new toy, and I'm sure they'll get down to business eventually. But it's been fascinating to watch.
That's the best type of game, right? Like people are just having fun. You know what I mean? Like I understand that Zelda has a very intricate story, and there are like multiple timelines depending on like what happened in Ocarina of Time, and but I never hear anybody talk about it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, the story is actually not that intricate. Like, the timeline is intricate, but
Yeah,
the story of each game is not like you can really summarize succinctly the story of pretty much every Legend of Zelda game in like 4 paragraphs because you don't have to get into the nitty gritty of first went to went to this palace and then he went to that palace and then he went to this dungeon and then he went to that dungeon. Like you can just talk about the game in broad strokes and get all of the major plot points pretty quickly. And that's kind of what Zelda's always been. But like I said, now they're really even more pulling back from the story because from what I understand, the story in this game is told through the memories flashbacks, much like it was in Breath of the Wild, which I don't think is a very effective storytelling device, honestly. Especially something that you don't find in a specific order. Like you almost have to like find them and then maybe piece them together and watch them in a certain sequence to really understand what's going on. Or at least that's how I felt when I played Breath of the Wild. The other reason though that I'm not playing this, and though it's commendable the job that Nintendo did putting this game on 7-year-old hardware and making it work as good as it does, I have to imagine that we're not that far away from a upgraded Switch, like a proper Switch successor. And I also have to imagine that this game specifically will get some sort of remastering that'll bring it more in line with the performance standards that we would expect from games today, because the game runs at a pretty steady 30 frames per second until you have a lot of shit on the screen, until you're fucking with your god hand a lot, and then it drops distinctly. And I don't know, man, like even jokes about my recent conversion to the PC Elite aside, I just really can't be bothered with games that don't run well anymore from like a performance perspective.
Yeah, I get it, man. Like because it's such a huge like contrast. Like it's like when you watch a movie and it happens to be shot in 48 frames instead of 24 frames. You're like, like this looks weird. Like, what's wrong with this, right? Now imagine like playing a game and just like that's what happened when I played the Street Fighter 6 demo. I didn't realize I had it in uh, fidelity mode,
And so
and I was like,
it was running at 30. You probably felt sluggish.
yeah, and I was like, this doesn't look right. Like this doesn't look right. This doesn't feel right. It wasn't. It wasn't. No, it didn't work. And then I just kind of messed around with the options and like, oh, that's why. Like this is much better.
So good segue, because that's what
Run
I
it.
have been playing a lot of. So I finally got some time to really dig down into the Street Fighter 6 demo that's currently available, where you can play as Ryu or Luke in like versus mode, or you can do the World Tour, the beginning stages of the World Tour mode. So I know you talked about this a couple weeks ago a little bit. I'm sure you've probably played more since then, as have I. I got to tell you, so this, and I was telling you this offline too, but this game feels instantly smooth and fun to play in a way that 5 never truly did click with me. And one of the reasons why I never really returned to 5 and really didn't carve out time to learn it is because even like in those early stages, even before they fixed the game just didn't feel quite right. Like it was a huge diversion from what 4 was. And 4 was incredibly fun to play. Like 4 is the Street Fighter game that I've probably played the most in my life. And so I guess I was looking for more of like keep what made that system good and then add some new and exciting things on top of it. And in 5 I never really caught on with the V trigger system. That never really, I don't know, I just couldn't wrap my head around it. But in 6, the gameplay in 6 with the new drive impacts and with the drive parry, and some of the new mechanics that they've introduced in this one actually feels like the next evolution of the fighting system that we got in Street Fighter 4. And I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, it's I don't know what it is about those even numbered Street Fighters, but they they're great. I like 4. I like three a little bit better, but
Hmm.
I did enjoy four a lot. Five, like I don't know, five was feels a little faster.
Hmm.
The V trigger system is it's okay if you've got a good V trigger,
Hmm.
and 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 if you've got a good V trigger, it's broken.
Hmm.
Like so, like I've seen matches where people just take all the abuse, right? Take all the abuse from like an Akuma, right? All this technical prowess, right? And then just like V trigger Balrog and just like mollywop the shit out of him, and like that's it. And like that was a strategy, right? To that was it was literally rope a dope,
Hmm.
and that doesn't make for interesting matches. It makes for a very frustrating match to play.
Hmm.
Some of the V triggers were, but like I said, some of the V triggers were good, which is why they're in six as just like regular moves.
Right.
Yeah, it feels great. I'm still trying to learn how to use my resources. Like
Hmm.
this, like resource management is going to be incredibly key
See,
in this game.
that's why I like it though. Like that scratches the like the board gamer nerd in me is having this like fixed pool of resources, and like you have to on your feet think what's the best way to deploy these. Like, do I want to use I don't remember what they're called overdrive attacks. Do you want to use like overdrive attacks, which is the EX attacks in this game essentially, or do you want to save them because your opponent's playing really aggressively, so you want to save them for drive parries or for like a drive counter that you can hit them with, but that takes half your bar, and it's and you know, but if you can parry, if you can time it good, then you can get it all back, but you know
Yeah.
you have to really like that. That's the chess game that I like to play when it comes to games like this. I love, you know, spacing. I love, you know, zoning out people and stuff like that. And again, like that adds a cool element to again figure out what you're doing. And it's, you know, when you see the super gauge building up and kind of seeing, you know, like, oh, they're gonna sit on that level two, let it build and try to pop off a three, or are they gonna, you know, sneak it in on me, cancel it in on me. Yeah, it's I'm looking very
It's
forward to this. Well, first to this weekend because they're doing the open beta with the 8 characters and a few of the other game modes in there, and then to full release, which is only a couple weeks away. So
Yeah, man. Like I've always thought of Street Fighter, its real world, you know, analog is boxing,
hmm.
right? Like it's very much the sweet science. Like you can't just go in there and I mean you can, right? You can just go in there and start flailing and maybe you'll get lucky. But like it's there's so much more than just like you can't mash. You
Hmm.
can't mash. Like as much as I like Tekken, you can get away with mashing in Tekken. Like you can. You can't get away with like you can't you it won't be elite players that you're beating,
Hmm.
but like all these dummies who are like come see me in Tekken, yo. Like nah, you can get away with mashing on them and be fine. You can't do that with Street Fighter.
No.
Like you just can't. And especially now. Like have you been burned out?
Yeah, it's not
Yo,
fun.
burnout. Yo,
It's fucking it's traumatizing is what it is. Like you're sitting there like why won't the gauge fill up faster? Like
right. It
I need
feels
my
so
drive.
slow, man. It feels so slow. Like they really punish you. Like you could get resources back and it's easy to get them back, but it's so easy to burn them, dude. Like like don't just do drive rushes and thinking it's gonna be everything's gonna be all right, man. Like it's it's yeah, man. I really do enjoy that game. I'm just sitting there playing Ryu, fighting against level 8 Luke, just to see what the game can do. And I'm just getting annihilated, and but it's so cool, man. Like
Yeah, that's
I
the thing
I
is
can't
like
wait.
not to pat myself on the back or anything, but like I haven't really played Street Fighter in a couple of years now at this point because like I said, I didn't really play a ton of 5 after it came out. And like I'm already like basically like mollywopping the computer on the default difficulty, so I'm just like what do I need to crank this up to? Like I'm not as rusty as I thought I was. So, or
Yeah,
and maybe
man.
it's just because I'm just fighting against Ryu right now, and Luke, who fights very similarly to to Ken and Ryu. So I might just know those characters super well. But no, it's very exciting. World Tour mode, I might dabble in it. I could take it or leave it. I don't feel like that
Yeah.
mode is for us. I do think it's funny that you can walk up to just any rando on the street, like oh here's a businesswoman in her suit walking down the street, like let's fight. You like touch like the back of your fist together, and then you just fight like right in the middle of the street because that's what happens in the world of Street Fighter. When you're walking around the city, you can just literally everyone's DTF down to fight, as the kids say, as you play as you play Street Fighter. So, like I said, I'll fuck around with that, but I don't anticipate that being where I spend the majority of my time. Obviously,
When I inevitably get frustrated at losing all the time, then I see like I'll play it because like I like the Street Fighter lore or
hmm
whatever. Like it's so like it's cheesy and corny, and I do like it. But no, I've never been more excited to play a training mode
hmm
than I have than I am with this. Just to kind of really analyze frame data.
hmm
You know what I mean? Like I know what frames are and that, but like I've never been able to like analyze it. And like I don't know how people claim to do that in the middle of a fight.
hmm
Or maybe it's just I know that this has a certain amount of startup and I can get away with this and like I understand that, but like to
I mean
be able to see the
that's people that are putting in way more practice than you and
yeah.
I are ever going to put in. So,
But then you got people like like pros like Punk who's really good and he's just like nah yo I just do it off a feel
yeah,
like yeah like that's like I understand that
Micah,
but
that is
yeah
so funny to me because you are inadvertently stepping into the current state of affairs at all major professional sports right now because there's this always constant low key battle between people that believe in like the advanced analytics and people who are more old school that just like like oh like you feel it in your gut when someone's a good player, you just like have an eye for talent and like you can just see what makes them good, and then you have the stat nerds that are like well yeah like he's good and here's the data that proves why he's so good, and every single sport is doing this. I'll never forget there was an interview on MLB TV one time, and one of the hosts, who is an analytics guy, was talking to two, was like interviewing two of like the more old school people in the sport, and one of the announcers is this old fucking man named Hawk Harrelson who used to do color for the White Sox, and he's like I got an advanced statistic for you. TWTW, and like Brian Kenny's like, oh, like what was the analyst guy? He's like, oh, what's that? The will to win, and he's just like, you can't quantify
I can only imagine it's I look the closest analog is like an atheist talking to like a faith-based person.
that.
You know what I mean? Like Jay and I just went. We saw Fast and the Furious
hmm
movie, and they're like, they're all like faith-based people. You gotta have faith. Here's a cross. Have faith, and now let's just ride this car off of this
I'm about to
dam.
say you got with the shit that they do. You better be praying to somebody.
It's just like yo, like no, like no, like no. But yeah, it's I look, man. I'm super excited for this. I haven't done this in a very long time. I'm taking a day off.
Good for you.
I'm taking a day off, and you know what else is funny? Diablo 4 comes out that day.
No, no, later
Um,
in the week. So Street Fighter
Not for
comes out, I
me.
believe.
Not for
Oh,
me.
you pre-ordered it, you nerd. You fucking goober. No, you know what else? You know what else? You know what else comes out the same day as Street Fighter 4? Super Mega Baseball, or Street Fighter 6 Super Mega Baseball 4. That's
You,
my dilemma. I feel like I can wait for Diablo for Friday.
You know what? Here's my hat trick of a dilemma. The new Into the Spider-Verse movie comes out that same day.
Oh, well, but see,
So
that's only 2 hours of your time. Like that's not.
it's only 2 hours, but like I'm getting old, man. I don't have I gotta go to bed at like 10 o'clock now. I don't have that kind of time. That's why I'm taking off. So I'm taking off.
I did play a little bit of the Diablo 4 when they had the server slam over
Yeah.
the weekend. My wife and I played. That game looks fantastic. They really dialed up the presentation with this one. I do enjoy how it seems like that they are, at least at the low levels, kind of forcing you. It is a lot more like 2, where they're kind of forcing you to actually fight and use the environment around you, and not just like be able to just run up to enemies and just like hack and move on to the next one without worrying about damage or, or anything like that, just being able to
Right.
shred through them. So that should make the early goings good, and then of course the goal becomes then to find just a build where you can just fucking be a chainsaw just running through enemies as you see them. But I didn't play a ton of it, but again, like I played enough to see, the game looks amazing. And they're doing a very good job with the presentation. Like it's almost has like CRPG levels of like presentation, which sounds like a knock, but it isn't. Because it looks very good and the voice acting is going to be solid, and I'm looking very forward to that as well. So, gonna be it's
I
fucking June, man. June's gonna be a fucking month. I'll tell you.
It's gonna be stacked,
I'm
man.
not even
It's gonna
playing.
be
I'm not.
stacked.
I'm already. I know I'm not playing Final Fantasy until at least late summer, if I end up getting it at all
Oh
right
man,
away.
that might be another day off for me. That might be another day. Oh no, I think it comes around. I think it comes out like near my son's birthday. So
Mm.
yeah, I'm gonna have to take a day off because I won't be playing it on the 24th. But I have been playing one other thing. I played that Star Wars game,
Oh yeah, that's
uh,
right.
and I finished that Star Wars game.
Hmm.
I like it. It's kind of a natural evolution to what was they build upon what was in the first very well.
Hmm.
Like they don't Metroid you,
Hmm.
right? Like
Yeah, I found that
you,
interesting that they decided not to go that route, which is good. Like I think more games need to design around the powers that you get in the first game, and not you just start you back at square one. That's too easy.
yeah, like that's very cool. The environments are huge.
Hmm.
There are like 4 or 5 planets that you go to, but they're gigantic. Like the maps are enormous. But the actual like map is god awful. It's a 3D map. It sucks.
Hmm.
I can you can customize your main character, so he doesn't have to look like he doesn't have to look like the actual actor. He can like give him a beard, make him look like Obi-Wan, which is what I did. The story was interesting for like the first 2 acts, and then the third act, the story just falls off a cliff. Like I was incredibly disappointed by the. I was like, why are you doing this? Like, why is this person doing this? Like, this doesn't make any sense. This person's motivation is like they try to uh, they try to exploit your feelings as the player for the reason this person does something, but
Hmm.
like no, like it doesn't make sense if you just think about it. Um, I was incredibly disappointed with that. It almost made me put it down. I was like, this is dumb. Um, but uh, but I did enjoy myself while I was playing it. Um, so yeah, I do recommend it. Apparently on consoles.
Yeah, no, still not on PC. It's still not quite up to snuff, as it were. Before we get to the ad read, speaking of PC, my PC. I'm a nerd, elite nerd now. Tip of the week. Currently on Steam, they have the BioWare Mega Bundle on sale that will get you all 3 Dragon Age games and all 4 Mass Effect games for the low price of $20. So I highly recommend
I
checking that
mean,
out.
I would pay $20 for the first Dragon Age alone,
Well, that
let
you can get
alone
that and more, and
yeah.
more. So if you have Steam, so check that out. And
that first Dragon Age, the PC is the like I make fun of like PC people, but I have played games on my PC, and that first Dragon Age, the only way to play it is on PC. It just is so much better. You get this really cool tactical view. You can actually see what is going
you,
on around you.
you know what's ironic? Apparently, it doesn't run well on modern hardware.
Oh my god.
Like hardware's gotten too new, and just like, wow, this is too much for this game to be able to even
Yo,
possibly touch.
that is hilarious.
It's a first
Oh
for
my
me.
goodness gracious.
So
Listen, folks, go to densepixels.com/fans to get invited into our Discord. When you do, you can see all kinds of shenanigans, like the Tears of the Kingdom Shenanigans Spoilers channel, where everyone is talking about all of the mean things that they do to those plant people.
and we want to see your nonsense in there. Like if you do something fucking crazy in Tears of the Kingdom, use that quick that screen clip in on your Switch and upload it.
Yeah, yeah. I want to see a Chilean Hammer of Dawn. Like that would be, that would be awesome.
I want to live vicariously through you, the listener, because I'm not going to be playing that game for quite some time.
I don't even know. Like I was this close to like,
Hmm.
do I want to buy it? But then I was like, I didn't play the first one. Like I didn't give the first one a fair shake. So if anything, I would go back to play the first one. But we got a bunch of channels there. We got a wrestling channel that shows spy clips of Seth Rollins in the new Captain America movie.
We think,
Okay.
because again, Seth Rollins could just be out for a day in the town.
Yeah,
We
with the
don't
way
know.
he's dressed.
Yeah, we don't know.
Jason Momoa was doing an incredible Seth Rollins impression in that Fast and Furious movie. Let me tell you, it was something to see. But yes,
Speaking of series that I can't get into, I'm watching the previews for Fast 10, and I'm just like,
it's fucking nonsense.
I'm
Brad.
glad.
It's fucking
I'm
nonsense.
glad I never.
Like I got to do a review on it, and like I know people are not gonna want to hear what I have to say about it, but like it's too much now. It's like it's too. It's been too much for a long time. It's been too much for a long time.
I wonder.
Once
So I
Paul
wonder.
Walker-
I know we're getting so far off the ad read, which is not something we normally do. I wonder if they're gonna like do the same thing like the James Bond series did. So like, remember how like the James Bond series went so hard that they did
Yeah, they had
Moonraker
to-
because they're like, we got to go to space, and then like after that movie, they were just like, we went too hard. We have to go all the way back, and then like the next James Bond movie was this like really firmly grounded like just normal James Bond spy thriller. I wonder if they do the same thing with the Fast and Furious franchise, where they go like the next Fast movie is just like Fast and Furious 1, where it's just about racing for pinks, man, and running drugs and guns or whatever the fuck they did in that first movie. The only one that I've seen in the entire series.
I can answer that question for you right now, Brad. No, because they've already been to space. They've already driven a car to space in low orbit and came back. So no, it's like, all right, come on, guys. Like this is ridiculous. It's a good time, but like, this is the definition of empty calories in movie form. Like this is not good for you. Go to youtube.com/densepixels and like and subscribe and comment about my terrible taste in Fast and Furious movies. Apparently, whatever. Just comment, engage because it helps us. And subscribe to all of the TMP Studios podcasts wherever you get podcasts, including the Nerdpocalypse, Black on Black Cinema, Coming Distractions, and the weekly preview episode of the Look Forward Political Podcast. When you're done doing all that, go to densepixels.com/premium. And for $5 a month or $50 for the full year, you get access to all of the other podcasts in our back catalog, including The Airing of Grievances, No Time to Bleed, The Men with the Golden Tongues, Upstage Conversation, and the full brand new weekly episodic episode of the Look Forward Political Podcast. As a premium listener, that $5 a month is worth it for the Look Forward Political Podcast alone, and you're getting all this other stuff. So yeah, that's pixels.com/premium.
So we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, Microsoft had their bid to buy Activision Blizzard King blocked in the UK by the CMA, the Competition and Markets Authority, saying that they were blocking the deal because they were worried that it would give Microsoft too strong of a stranglehold in the burgeoning cloud gaming space, which we thought was a kind of ridiculous reason to block the merger. But hey, do what you're gonna do. Well, just last week, the EU hand waved the merger through for Microsoft. So the EU said, "Hey, the concessions that they've made, we have no problems with." And to regarding with their with the worries from Sony, the EU says that even if Microsoft did pull Call of Duty from PlayStation, Sony would still be able to remain competitive by, quote, leveraging its size, extensive games catalog, and market position to fend off any attempt to weaken its competitive position. And then, referring to cloud streaming, the EU said the deal is unlikely to change much as the market is still, quote, very limited today. And in fact, that the deal could actually promote the growth of cloud gaming across the globe. Now, that's like the story about the EU doing it. There's not a whole lot of meat on the bones to that story because I kind of figured that's what would happen. The surprise to me is that the CMA felt the need, unrequited, to just come out on Twitter and talk about how, yeah, we don't think the EU or the EU is making the right decision here on this, and we still stand behind our position. And they're dumb, even though we respect their ability to make their own decision about about this merger.
Again, I see the parallels. I see the parallels all too well. The developer in this case is like, well, if you don't approve it, I'm gonna go above your head, and they do, and they come back to me, the engineer, and I'm okay, but I'm not signing it. Like I'm not putting my name on it because if something goes sideways,
Now,
nope, not putting my name on it.
like I said, for you to come out of the gate, like no one was like, "Hey, I wonder what the CMA thinks about this." Like it wasn't even like response to anybody. They were just like, "Oh, we put out a statement." And we're like, "Did you have to do that?" Like you doth protest too much. Like the ruling that you made is the statement. Like that. Like that's your opinion. Like you don't need to. You didn't say anything new. You just reinforced what you said before, but you didn't do anything different. You just did it in the wake of that. Now that being said, I am genuinely curious if when this makes its way through the FTC and the FTC approves it, if the FTC approves it as it's already negotiated, what then? Because then I feel like the CMA would all of a sudden be facing tremendous amounts of pressure. And I don't even know if they can reverse their decision. I don't know how the procedure works with that sort of thing once they've already evaluated it. But I am very curious to know what would happen if the CMA was the lone sticking point behind this deal being held up, because then you get into the interesting situation of how valuable is this deal to Microsoft? Because in that regard, if the CMA is not approving this merger, but literally everybody else in the world is, and the UK decided to fuck their shit up a couple years ago by becoming their own independent country now, or independent for free of the EU shackles. What if Microsoft were to all of a sudden go to the UK and be like, you know what? We just don't sell Xbox in the UK anymore, guys. Sorry, because you guys don't let us. Sorry, you blocked this deal. As much as we'd love to do business with you, it's just not going to work out. Like we can get more money from these other places that are cool with us doing what we're doing, and yeah, like so we're just not going to do business in the UK anymore.
I mean, that sounds extreme,
Mm-hmm.
but it really isn't. I don't think it is, man. I don't think it's extreme.
But here's the thing: can they get away with only not doing business for Xbox in the UK, because I think because it becomes more extreme if it becomes like they're not going to just pull Microsoft out of the UK. Like that's not gonna happen. But if they can somehow like kind of carve out Xbox as like a separate entity, be like, all right, well, Xbox, won't be licensed in the UK. I could see them swinging that stick. I don't know if they'd actually go through with it, but I could see them leveraging it to try to get their way.
Yeah, I you'd be surprised at the depths that people will go to, like, especially when there's like this kind of money on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's gonna happen. Like, it just is.
Mm-hmm.
This especially under this like flimsy bullshit reason why they're not approving it. I don't know, man. I feel like this is just a stopgap. I feel like the CMA is just trying to be like, you better respect me. But I do think it's gonna happen eventually. There's just too much money. There's just too much money on the table.
Yeah.
Like $69 billion. Like that's an unheard of amount of money for this to not happen.
For this kind of an acquisition, yeah.
So, yeah, man. I
We'll
mean,
see.
we'll see.
I'm curious to see how the world turns on this. Again, it's the FTC. A lot of folks are gonna be watching what the FTC does with this to see what happens. I think if the FTC rules against it, then that changes the calculus a little bit here. But like I said, if they approve it through, it's gonna make for an interesting showdown. Ubisoft, our friends over at Ubiquitous Software, they are doubling down on the Assassin's Creed franchise. So they've decided in the wake of, because they've got all this money to make up. They had a $500 million operating income loss in 2022. Ubisoft's like, you know what? You know what is working? The one thing in Ubisoft that's working real good right now, that Assassin's Creed franchise. Remember how we used to pump those motherfuckers out every single year, sometimes more than once a year? And then we eased off on that a little bit. And yeah, the games were better, but we weren't putting out as many games, which means we weren't making as much money. And like, we don't like not making money. So let's really fucking push our chips in the table on the Assassin's Creed franchise. So they have decided to increase the number of developers working on the Assassin's Creed franchise by 40% over how it's currently constituted. Currently, this is wild to me to hear this number, but currently they have about 2,000 developers who work on the Assassin's Creed franchise, and they are bumping that number over the coming years to 2,800 people working on Assassin's Creed. To put that into perspective, as this Kotaku article does, 3,000 people work on the Call of Duty franchise across 4 studios at this point. If we're talking about 3 mainline Call of Duty games in development at any given time, plus Warzone, so they have 3,000 people working on the Call of Duty franchise, and we're about to get the Call of Dutyfication of the Assassin's Creed franchise, which, considering how many mediocre ass Assassin's Creed games came out during the times when Ubisoft was putting this shit out, like every single year, worries the shit out of me. Because I do like Assassin's Creed, but Assassin's Creed is not a game that I like playing every single year. Assassin's Creed's a game that I like revisiting every couple of years, because that's enough time that I need to forget about the grind from the previous Assassin's Creed, and it whets my appetite for a new Assassin's Creed. So
Yeah.
this worries me big time.
Yeah, I think it should. So they've got a couple different games coming out. Here's how I see them kind of rolling these out. Mirage is the next one up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think they have 3 like mainline games and 3 games that are VR mobile and multiplayer, whatever that is.
Yeah.
God, I shudder to think of what that is going to be.
Hey, look, I played that Assassin's Creed multiplayer for a little bit when it first came out.
Yeah, well, I think this is going to be Assassin's Creed live service
Yeah.
is what I think
Yeah.
that's going to be, and I'm not looking forward to that discourse.
No, not
Mirage,
from that company. I will tell you,
no,
because that they have already proven themselves incredibly untrustworthy when it comes to MTX in the video game marketplace. So I like having a fully fledged. I mean, they've had fully fledged live service games. Like the last last two Ghost Recons were both live service games. The Division series is a live service game, and you can
yeah.
see what those games are doing right now.
Here's my here's,
Destiny, they are not.
no, not at all. Here's my hope, right? That we get a mainline game and we get one of these other three games in between. They're going to do this every year. They're going to because like that's just how corporations are. They need to make money, more money every year.
I think they're gonna just find themselves in the same place that they did before, where the sales start dragging off, and I guess
Well,
they're gonna try to make it up through the
here's
microtransaction piece of it.
right, but here's the thing. They've been sitting on. They go all around the world, many different time periods. What's the one that they've been avoiding that everyone wants?
We already got it from Sucker Punch. Thanks, we're good.
I look, look. Trust me, I know, but it's they're sitting on that Japan one, and that's gonna be like the gold mine, right? Like that's the Final Fantasy VII remake of what this is going to be. So I have a feeling that you're gonna get Mirage, then you know Jade, then Hexe, then Nexus, then introduce Invictus, which is the multiplayer one. Nexus is the virtual reality one, and then codenamed Red, which is Japan last. I think they're saving that for a rainy day.
And here's the thing that pisses me off: like if by doing this they would be gambling on some settings, and some things that they haven't done before to be able to bring new experiences, that'd be cool. Like I think it would be really neat. Now that they started to branch out a little bit, what if we get like a sub-Saharan African Assassin's Creed game of some kind, and you can you can make that game however you want to. Like you can make that maybe more of a modern time setting where you're fighting against like colonial oppression, things like that. Like I think that could be an interesting story.
This
My,
country don't have this company don't have the balls to do that.
oh
Like
no,
they
especially considering a lot of the colonial oppression they'd be criticizing would be coming from their very own government.
right, right.
So I don't know how that worked, but it would be cool if it did. You could do like a Mayan or an Incan Assassin's Creed potentially. Like I think there's room for that.
My issue with Assassin's Creed is not they nail the settings, right? Like they wherever they decide to go, it'll be great. Assassin's Creed for a very long time felt the same. And then Assassin's Creed Origins came out. It was fresh, it was different, it was like they were aping The Witcher, and it was a hit. And then Odyssey came out and it improved upon everything that Origins did, and just bloated it, right? Like it could literally be the only game you ever bought and you'd still be playing it. I can't remember. And then
Odyssey.
Valhalla came
Or
out.
Valhalla, sorry.
I couldn't get into Valhalla, but those three games kind of play the same.
They do.
And that's always been the issue with Assassin's Creed is that they kind of hang on a little too long. Like they see something that works, and now all of a sudden every game's got a fucking boat in it.
I think that's a problem, not just with Assassin. That's a Ubisoft problem.
Right.
Like we're not that far removed from the time when all Ubisoft games were the same game, essentially.
Right. They were cartography simulators.
Right, with
like,
towers and they just had like this one's the action adventure one. This one's the first person shooter one. This one's the third person shooter one. Like, but we have all
And the issue with this company is they know that, so they've said, okay, well, Mirage is going to feel more like the first Assassin's Creed. Well, you're not really innovating. You're doing the old school Madden thing of you're introducing something one year, you're taking it away the next year, and then you're reintroducing it as something like fresh and new. Like that's going to be the issue, is trying to keep these games, these big mainline titles fresh and new. Which is why it kind of worked when they were every other year.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't know, man. Like this company is just annoying now. Like I like their games, man, but they're just really annoying.
They really are. I can't think of a company that just irritates me. Like annoying is the right
Yeah.
word. Like they I can't think of a company that's more irritable than Ubisoft is right now.
Yeah, man. Like all those Far Cry games. Like, and look, I'm part of the problem. I bought Far Cry 6, and I played it to completion. I enjoyed it, but they feel the fucking same, man. Like they have this charismatic villain, right? Like who's doing all this, who's putting in all this work, all this acting chops, but you only see them in cutscenes and you don't really interact with them, and
Hmm.
it just isn't. They all feel the same, and like I've played every single Assassin's Creed game. Odyssey is probably my favorite next to Brotherhood, but I couldn't get into Valhalla, and I don't
Hmm.
know if it's because like I don't know if it's because I'm not into Vikings, but like I like Vikings, right? Like fucking big white people throwing axes at each other's heads and shit. Like that's fucking awesome, right? But I couldn't get into it, and I think I might skip this Assassin's Creed.
Oh, I'm not getting
Um,
this one. I'm not getting Mirage.
yeah,
I'm
like
okay.
yeah, I just especially if it's gonna feel and kind of look like the first Assassin's Creed, like
Hmm.
I think I'm done, man. I think I'm done. I'll skip this one and see what this Assassin's Creed, Salem witch hunt or whatever is going to
Actually,
be.
that's a lie. If Mirage gets amazing reviews, I will get it, but not at $70. I'll wait till that shit goes on sale.
Yeah, not at $70,
Yeah.
man. Not at $70. There's way too much other stuff coming out right now that that I'm going to be playing. But yeah, I don't know. They're so fucking obnoxious. Can't stand them. You know who else is obnoxious? Amazon. But we need them to live. So go to densepixels.com/Amazon for all of your Amazon purchases. When you go to densepixels.com/Amazon for purchase, you get what you want. You don't pay anything extra, and Amazon throws pennies on the ground for us to run over and pick up and be thankful for. I'm going to Amazon.com. I'm going to densepixels.com/Amazon. And let's click on pick up where you left off. Okay, maybe we shouldn't, but I'm going to do it anyway. You can go to densepixels.com/Amazon and purchase yourself a long braiding hair baseball cap hat wig, hair with braided box braids for women, at $34.98. So what this is, Brad, it's a wig,
Hmm.
it's a hat with hair coming out of it,
Okay.
like it's like a ball cap with a bunch of braids coming out of it. So when women don't feel like doing their hair, you just pull it back in a bun, put this on. Now it looks like you got a bunch of hair. Like
I
think
was
of
gonna ask, is this for a costume or is this just for everyday?
no, this is for every day. Yeah, this is for every day.
Okay.
Sometimes women don't feel like doing their hair. Sometimes black women feel like doing it. Black women hair is a whole thing.
But
It's a whole thing.
can't you just like
No,
I'm
no, don't
nope.
even just don't. Just don't.
I mean, I feel like that's a live wire. Don't reach out.
I like you, Brad. I'm trying to save you. Okay. If you would have finished that statement, one, we would become incredibly popular on Black Twitter, but two, it
For
would be
all
for
the wrong
all the wrong
reasons.
reasons. So yes, if you want some personal hair care products, go to densepixels.com/Amazon.
Uh, before we get into the post office, I just have to mention this fun story about Yoshi P, Naoki Yoshida, for those who prefer actual names. Did his monthly live stream for Final Fantasy 14. Like he came into the studio still like literally like looking down playing a Switch because he was playing Zelda, and and he could not bear to put the console down. That's how into it he was. So it's not just you guys. Like even the one of the best game producers currently working can't break away.
I absolutely love that. By the way,
Yeah,
like when like other developers, other developers, they're just playing other because they like games.
yeah,
They like games and they
yeah.
play everything.
Phil Spencer, notably a fucking Destiny 2 like hardcore player, like plays the shit out of Destiny 2. And like when
Right,
Sony acquired Bungie, they're just like, oh, I guess you gotta stop playing Destiny 2. He's like, no, I don't. He's like, I'm gonna play the fuck out of
right.
it. So yeah. So we go to the post office. You can join our Discord by going to densepixels.com/fans and ask us questions that we will answer every single week, just like Daniel did. He asked Micah, what is your most prized action figure?
My most prized action figure.
Mm-hmm.
So during the pandemic, the I needed something to do. I needed a hobby, and I this one right here is the one that started me. This one right here is the one that started me on my journey. I didn't think I would be collecting action figures, but I am a huge fan of one Mr. Doctor Doom, and I thought, wow, this toy looks super dope. I want to get it. And then this is from the Super Scroll Wave, and I liked it so much I bought the rest of the wave, and I didn't know how this like stuff worked. Um, and yeah, I felt, and then that's how I got into like articulated comic book art, which is
Mm-hmm.
basically taking pictures of toys in like cool poses and stuff. And it's a whole like thing. It's a whole thing. There's a whole like community, and it's great. So it might be the Super Scroll Wave Doctor Doom, which got me into this stuff.
Very cool. A question for me from Phil and Wander: what is a racetrack that is not currently on the F1 schedule that you'd like to see on the schedule in the future? Um, that is a difficult question because they already race on most of the best circuits. Um, like there's a couple answers like the Daytona infield layout would be interesting, but I think it's not as cool as it is with IndyCar. So I don't know that F1 necessarily needs to get into that. Plus, I don't think there's a lot of room to race on that infield, but it would be cool to watch them race around the speedway part. Uh, Except that's a lot of quarter banking for an F1 car and a lot of potential for people to die, so that maybe not so good to do that. Um, Seeing them race at Laguna Seca could be interesting because of the corkscrew, but that is a little too remote to see an F1 race end up there, I think. Trying to think of other tracks that would be neat. Fuji's not bad. Again, that's got a big long ass straight to it as well. Um, those are probably the three. Someone mentioned the Nurburgring um, in the Discord, and I think that's a good one as well to throw out there. So yeah, those would kind of be my options. But there's not like one track that I'm just like, oh my god, like I really wish F1 could just fucking go there. Again, it would be so cool. They race on most of the tracks that I want to see them at. So Muckmeister says, Brad, have you played the new Zelda? I have not, as we've discussed. If so, now that you've experienced the buttery smooth frame rate of a nice PC, what are your thoughts on the frame rate to Tears of the Kingdom? Do you already feel the elitism creeping in? So, I mean, we talked about that a little earlier. So, look, I am not of the believer that every game needs to run at a minimum of 60 FPS in this day and age. But I think if you're going to run at 30, it better be rock fucking solid in this day and age. I think that there's almost no excuse to not have your game running at a stable 30 FPS at a minimum in this day and age. Because that the problem is not with frame rates. The problem is not when the frame rate is low. It's when there's variance. And unfortunately, like the Switch, of course, not only being underpowered, but the Switch also doesn't have like any way to do, VSync or anything like that to prevent, like screen tearing and things of that nature. With those games too. So that's, and it's weird, right? Because the thing that makes Zelda not run at 30 is all the cool physics shit and all the stuff that's built into the game engine that taxes the resources. And without those things, Zelda wouldn't be what it is. But at the same rate, that really sucks, like when you're doing something cooler in a big fight and then like it just chugs down to 15 frames and just fucking slows right down. So Amir posted, like, apparently you can hack your Switch to overclock the RAM in some way, shape, or form, and that helps apparently. So but yeah. So, and then he also asked the follow-up question: Do I see myself still playing on the PS5 for non-exclusive games? Which one and why? Yes, because as we are seeing now, there are a lot of games that come out with just fucking horrendous PC ports. And if it's a game that I want to play right away, I'd rather just play it on the PS5 where I know I'm going to be capped out at, 60 frames per second, but that's okay. But it's going to run stable, than play a PC port that's going to be jank to hell, and maybe get fixed in 4 to 5 months. Like that's not what I'm paying full price for. So yeah, like what the way that my buying habits are going to change now is if there's a game that's coming out and I'm interested to play it on PC, I'm going to first wait for the Digital Foundry review to come out to let me know how quality the PC port is before I decide which console I'm playing it on. But also, too, like, for multiplayer considerations, there's not a whole lot of games to consider, but like Diablo 4, I'm buying on PlayStation so that I can easily play with my wife, because there is no co-op, local co-op on the PC version, and I don't feel like buying 2 copies of the game for me to be playing on PC and for her to be playing on PlayStation, because fuck that. So yeah, so there will still be times where I do buy the PlayStation version of stuff, even though I've got this new fancy gaming PC. And then finally, Cam asks, who is worth the people creating elaborate death traps for Koroks in Tears of the Kingdom, or people like me and Micah who used to invite sim neighbors over to their house and lock them in a room until they starved to death?
Oh man, well, I'm not gonna say me. So, and my friend Cam, is the people who are torturing. Are those Koroks? Are they sentient?
Yeah,
Do they have feelings, emotions?
yeah, they're just like little leaf creatures that just pop up, and they hand you seeds, which is probably actually like little poo nuggets from them, but they're gold.
Well, no. See, they're throwing feces at you. They're throwing feces at you.
It's a
no.
gift. It's a gift.
No, no.
If you collect all 900 Korok seeds, you get a big golden pile of poo from the main Korok guy.
No, thank you. It sounds like the Koroks are treating you like a toilet, and as such, turnabout is fair play. Whereas the sim neighbors, like, first of all, what are you doing over here bothering me? And second of all, like, if you can't break some drywall because, like, if you can't break through drywall because your life depends on it, you deserve to die. So get out of here.
I'm going to say the Koroks are worse because, again, they're just trying to have a little fun with you. They're just trying to play a little hide and seek game, a little discovery game. Do they deserve to be roasted over an open flame on a spit because of that? Do they deserve to be crucified and carried around the land on horseback because they wanted to play a little hide and seek? Do they deserve to be launched into free space on a glider that's going to be going who knows where? Do they deserve to be accidentally catapulted off of a cliff just for playing hide and seek with you? They do not. And those sim neighbors have free will. They could easily just not go to your house. So that's why it's not worse to lock them up. So I'm gonna say it's more depraved to do the Koroks. That's my one. I will also say my other favorite Zelda thing that I've seen before we wrap it up this week. So there was a guy, and he was trying to solve one of the shrine puzzles because those are back in this game, and so you know how they have like they have the regular hand where you can just move stuff around, right? But then they also have like the fuse power that you can fuse 2 objects together. And so what he did is he put this like bowl on this catapult, right? And he didn't realize he did this, but he fused the bowl to the end of the catapult, and then he lifted the ball and he put it into the bowl, and then he picked up a block that was on this pedestal that he was going to drop on the other end of the seesaw to launch the ball across this big giant gap. And so what happened is he drops the block down to launch it, and then realizes that he accidentally fused the ball to the cup. So he's like, "Fuck, like dumbass." So he hits recall on the block to rewind it, and he didn't realize he was standing right where the block was, and it fucking kabonged him, and he fell into the bottomless pit. It was hilarious. That was some funny shit. That's some funny shit. So that is it for the show this week. Thank you guys for submitting your questions. Again, join our Discord by going to densepixels.com/fans. You can subscribe to this show as well as all the other fine TNP studio shows wherever you download just the best podcasts that you can find on the internet, no matter what app you use. You can go to youtube.com/densepixels and subscribe to us there. We release this podcast in video form every single week, so you can check us out there as well. You can go to twitch.tv/densepixels and also follow our individual channels. I'm densepixels Brad, Terrence is Apparition 410, Carrie is Sup, it's Carrie. I'm going to continue watching all the Tears of the Kingdom clips that pop up on Twitter because, again, that's how I'm enjoying experiencing Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Not by actually playing it, but by watching all of you losers play it, and I will laugh at your deeds that you do in the land of Hyrule. So that is it for us this week. Thank you very much for watching and listening. We'll see you all the next time.
See ya.
You're watching the Dense Pixels YouTube channel. Click the subscribe button while you're here and make sure you check out our weekly podcast where we discuss the latest gaming news and our impressions on what games we've been playing.